again, the concept I'm going to be bringing to you guys today is neo-brutalism, or the Americanized term brutalism, which is the style of architecture here at Iowa State. The concept is using very ordinary building materials, but in an extraordinary way, to make something that's boring and almost seemingly ordinary more professional and creative. This is Villa Goethe. It was a building, housing quarters in Sweden. Hans Asplund, the Swedish architect, first used the term brutalism here in a way that described how the brick of the building, in correlation with the windows and the rest of the architecture, produced a creative design. This is basically just a CGI rendering of what brutalism actually looks like. The way the building is set up is you have your exoskeleton, which is basically your structural support. That would be your CMU block and reinforced concrete on the outside. And then you have these concrete panels fabricated to the building. And those are what kind of take the place of siding. And again, this is an example of what that would look like in real life. Now the paint you're seeing on that, that's actually a waterproofing material. Iowa State actually uses a sandstone color, I figured out, as their waterproofing material. Those buildings are actually gray. And then this would be exemplified of Carver. Carver actually uses more of a marbled white color as a waterproofing material. And like I said, you can just change the complete color of the building by the way you oriented that. And this is kind of a cookie cutter style building, but you can see they played along with the corners to make them more ornate. Now this is the Sheeman building. This kind of could be considered Carver's like larger brother. It's pretty extruded and it's a little bit more modern because it plays with the idea of having these large bay windows to create natural light, but again maintains brutalist ideals by the concrete paneling method it uses. Now Morrill Hall, this is more in correlation of Villa Goethe, the building Hans Asplund illustrated, because of the brick play used in this building. Now you may think this has a little bit more of a Victorian feel to it, and you're right. But like I said, the way the brick is used is maintaining itself true to brutalist ideals. And this is where the kind of everything changed. This is Unité de Habitation by Le Corbusier. He finally played around with the concrete paneling method, but cut everything up into strips so that you could better mold it to almost make shapes that had a lot of curvature to them. And he also played with the large bay windows. And this is almost a perfect example of the C.Y. Stevens Auditorium. Just the way it uses the curvature towards the roof to kind of play with those ideas set in stone by Le Corbusier. But again, like I said, it uses brutalist ideals by playing around with the concrete paneling method. And then this is obviously a building well familiar with. College of Design, if you actually go up as you're walking along the walls up to the entrance of the design building, it uses the same method as Le Corbusier. It uses the long strips. That way you can, like I said, get a lot more curvature to the building and kind of play around to how the building looks instead of being confined to those 90-degree angles. And something people don't know about the Parks Library, it, like I said, uses the concrete paneling method. A lot of people think they're actual stones that the building is made of, but they're actually, like I said, just concrete fabricated materials to make them look like stone. And then this is Troxel Hall. Now you may think this doesn't look like brutalism at all, and you're right, because it's not. Iowa State is moving towards a more modern movement, kind of a spin-off of brutalism. And they're doing this to kind of attract the younger crowd, because a lot of us don't like to look at the buildings such as Carver and C.Y. Stevens. And then this would be exemplified by the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. This is kind of the spin-off that like Troxel Hall is taking. It's using a lot of glass materials, but using them in a way that's seemingly beautiful that we wouldn't really think of. And then these are also two other spin-off ideas. They're complete different styles of architecture. You have self-expressionism, which is more extruding the building upright and playing with the curvature of the building, as well as mainly using glass. And then deconstructivism, which is basically using the same concrete paneling method, but extruding the building to produce these sinusoidal shapes. And brutalism is one of those ideas that's always going to be around. No matter if you're creating the next modern Le Corbusier style building or just a small shopping center, brutalism is always going to have its roots within that style of architecture and allow you to produce these wonderful works of architecture. Do you want me to put my slides?
Yeah. Alright.
Yeah.
I thought you were really good speaking and you were very clear to hear. You were really interesting to listen to. The only thing is, like, some of your pictures I feel could have been bigger, and I don't know if they necessarily needed the black border on them either.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep, some of them, it was just kind of a pixelation issue. I actually, the video, or the photos, I was having trouble with the pixelation. I actually put into Photoshop to see if I could doctor them up a little bit. But that actually kind of clouded the image even more. And so I just wanted to maintain the actual, like, integrity of the photo, so that's why I didn't kind of expand a lot of them.
Did you take any of the photos?
I did not.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would have suggested is you might have been able to take one in one of the campus shots, but obviously in others you can't.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like played around first with trying to see if I could find some online, because a lot of these, like this picture itself, like the pixelation was like 3,000 megapixels, and it was a really high quality image. And so if I would have not been able to find the more professional looking images, I definitely would have taken them myself.
Other questions and comments? And there's plenty to say here.
I thought I like how all your pictures are black and white and then you have the gray background. I think it really goes well with the topic.
I thought the flow was pretty well, and you seem to know what you were talking about, but you do have a tendency to say on that.
Nick, where did you find your information? Where did you get your start on how you were going to go on this?
Well, I first contacted the university architect, and I realized that the office itself is extremely hard to like hear back from. And so there was kind of that gap of about a week where I didn't hear anything, but I still wanted to kind of be proactive about my research. And so my main websites were Architecture Daily, and then actually a blog about Le Corbusier. And those are kind of where I took my initial chunks of research. But then I actually, for some reason, didn't start with Wikipedia. I thought that that might give me too broad of a research gap. And so, like I said, I went there, and Wikipedia was actually one of the ones I didn't even visit. I did get an image from there, but other than that, I didn't use Wikipedia at all.
Did the architect's office ever call back?
They only, like, the only thing I asked them about, they did call me back, was like the actual structural integrity of the buildings, and that's how I found out about the weatherproofing material that's put overneath the buildings. But
I wondered how you figured out or found out about the trend. Did you just figure that out from looking at Coxel?
Well, I kind of just noticed it. Iowa State has an entire database of the buildings on campus, and they have the date that it was built and any renovations or modifications that have happened to it. And Troxel Hall is one of the more recent buildings on campus. And then after looking at all these brutalist buildings, it kind of seemed to take that natural trend.
I have a feeling you learned a lot doing this.
Yeah.
You really did. You really dug into it and took a slightly different angle on it than many